Hi everybody, welcome to Charlie's Garage. In today's video, what we're going to discuss is regen issues. And of course, the video about regen issues could go on for hours, but I'm going to give you three of the main reasons why I've come across about why a regen will not occur. So first off, if a regen won't occur, then one of the things that it could be is problems with the exhaust gas recirculation valve. If you have problems with your EGR valve, you got to remember that the purpose of the EGR is to cool combustion temperatures to reduce the formation of NOx. So if the purpose during regen on this engine is to get the exhaust hot enough to burn off soot, the EGR valve being stuck open might be one of the reasons why you're not quite reaching the temperatures that you need to do it effectively. Sometimes a slightly open stuck EGR valve won't completely stop the regen process, but it might make it last longer. But if it is stuck wide open, it could potentially not let it get there. So one of the quick and easy things that you don't have to be a professional technician to do is just simply take the EGR valve off and look at it. A professional technician is going to have tools available where they can do actuator valve tests and all kinds of other stuff. But if you're doing this to your own personal diesel, then at the very least what you can do is take the valve off and take a look in it. And you can see if that spool or that butterfly has a bunch of soot or carbon buildup. And you can tell when it's a lot, and that might be a potential reason. On a lot of modern diesels, though, if you don't have full actuation, you might get a fault code for it as well. But I've seen a lot of EGR valves that weren't functioning correctly and there was no fault code. So that's reason number one. First thing I might take a look at is the EGR, but something that's even simpler to look at, and I'm going to move you guys over here, is to look at this temperature right here, right? So here on this engine, we have the exhaust pipe coming in and going into the diesel oxidation catalyst and the DPF. One of the easiest, quickest, cheapest tools that you can buy that will help you diagnose problems that you might have on your engine before you even take it to the shop could potentially be an infrared thermometer, because I may not be getting enough exhaust heat to burn that soot. Like we said earlier, it could be the EGR. But if I take a temperature reading right here and my exhaust temp, sometimes it can take it takes in excess of 1,000 degrees to get that soot burned off during a park or stationary regen. So if I have an infrared thermometer, I can point it out here real quick and find out what my exhaust temp is without having to have Cummins Inside or any other special tools to get the readings from the computer. I can get it straight from an infrared thermometer and tell if I'm getting hot enough. So what do you do if you do this measurement and you're not getting hot enough? EGR could be the potential reason it's not getting hot enough. Another reason, and this one doesn't have one because it's a high pressure common rail, but if you have an older EUI type style engine, you may end up having an after treatment fuel injector, which would be right here behind the turbocharger. If that thing is exposed to a lot of heat, it's also exposed to a lot of soot. That could potentially be the problem of why you're not regenning correctly, or why you're not getting hot enough to regen. So you can take one of those off. You can pull it out of the housing, take a look at it, see if it's got a lot of scoring, carbon buildup, other issues. But again, like I said, professional dealerships and technicians have the tools to test these things. So doing this at home, you're kind of guessing. So, but you can tell if one's kind of damaged sometimes. The other thing that I would tell you that is a common reason for not being able to regen is ash accumulation. And a lot of people forget about that when you do a regen, you are not completely getting all of the soot out of these guys, right? So where you're getting the soot. So what happens when you do a regen is you're burning ash down to, or soot down to ash. I can't talk today. Soot down to ash, right? So when we look at this guy, one of the things that might happen is over a long period of time, after every regen, you burn the soot down to ash, but that ash level is going to accumulate, and you can't burn ash during a regen because it no longer has any material to burn. So that might be the third reason why you're not able to regen, is that it's time for this filter to come off the engine or off the truck and get cleaned out. In a fleet environment, I always had one or two spares in my parts room, and that way I didn't have a truck sitting waiting for a DPF to get cleaned. I could just swap them out, get it back on the road, take the other one to the dealer, right? So those are the three common things that you can kind of check for yourself, that if you're getting hot enough and you're not regenning, it might be a clogged up DPF, most likely full of ash. If you've been burning a lot of smoke in the process, right? You're burning oil, burning coolant, those can have a negative effect on the DPF as well. So if you notice that the regen issue is also, you got a smoking issue, you might have been burning a lot of oil, burning a lot of fuel, and you might have melted the substrate in the DPF or some other issue like that. So the infrared thermometer, definitely something you can do at home. Check the temperature, and if the temperature is high, then you probably need to get that DPF cleaned or at least taken off and inspected. So I hope this kind of cleared up some of the main reasons why you wouldn't be able to regen your DPF. But another reason to keep in mind is that sometimes what might seem like a completely unrelated fault code, there are multiple fault codes that an ECM can throw that can cause the regen not to happen. So it could be turbocharger related, it could be mass airflow sensor related. A lot of different fault codes can keep a regen from occurring. So that's another thing. Check to see if your check engine light is on. If you won't regen and your check engine light is on, there's a pretty good chance that you have a fault code being thrown that's preventing that regen. If you continue to ignore the request for a regen, your engines nowadays, they're going to derate on you. And when they derate, you're going to be limited in power and scope of what you can do with that truck. And then if for some reason you ignored it until you shut it off, sometimes another fault code will get thrown, which in turn prevents the engine from being started. And that's when you get into where you have to call someone that has the software to hook up to the ECM and do a forced regen. And that can be expensive. So if you're an owner, driver, fleet owner, do not ignore the request for a regen. It's going to cost you more money in the long run if you ignore it, because you're going to have to pay someone to come and do it for you. So if you have any questions about regens and DPFs and anything like that, please put them in the comments. Please like and subscribe. Let me know any other videos you want to see about diesel engines. I like making these. So thank you for watching.